Hi, I'm John Newton, aka Snap-on John 100, and you are watching Wilderness Self-Reliance. Today is episode 2 of our Knife Maker Monday series, and we are going to be looking at a Survive Knives GSO 5.1. Okay, I guess my personal definition of a survival knife is in order. This is just my opinion, but to me there's a difference between a survival knife and a bushcrafting knife, or even a hunting knife. The hunting knife and the bushcraft knife are designed for either taking care of game, camp chores. The bushcraft knife, those things, plus a lot of wood preparation and woodworking things. So it needs to be extremely sharp, and in most cases I like to have a single bevel rather than a secondary bevel on the edge of my bushcraft knives. And with that being said, the survival knife to me needs to be almost virtually indestructible. It's not something you want to abuse, but there might be cases where your life is dependent on it being able to hold up under adverse conditions. So that's one reason why I like the Survive knives. I think they're pleasing to the eye. Their ergonomics are good, and the materials and fit and finish are unsurpassed. This is the model that I'm showing this week. It's called the GSO 5.1. They're made in the United States. They're made in, I think it's Kellogg, Idaho. I'll put the information in the notes below the video. But it's 3/16 finished 3/16, so they start out even thicker than that. So you get a finished product that's actually 3/16 thick. This one happens to be made of CPM 20 CV, so this is a stainless steel model. And I brought another one that I have that's an older model that is in CPM 3V. So I brought them out because this one is the latest one, and the handle scales are more contoured and they're a little bit larger. So he made some improvements on this one. So that's why I'm kind of showcasing this one, but I brought the other one so you can see that also. It has some jimping on the top of the spine. You can get this knife with a ferro rod notch in it if you want. I always choose not to, because besides being a knife collector, I always carry all kinds of different things that I can scrape a ferro rod with, rather than using the back of my knife. I don't find that extremely comfortable doing it that way, so I've just kind of stayed away from that. This one has G10 scales, and they're black and orange tiger stripe. Okay, so you can see the side view of the handles. It's contoured. It's got a nice palm swell. Really generous lanyard hole. The lanyard hole is actually into the scales, and it's got a jimping on the exposed tang. The sheaths that you get with these are pancake style kydex. The fit is fantastic. They snap in place. They don't rattle at all. Lock in place, and there's no rattling or anything. The sheath comes with kydex clips on the back, so you can put it on your belt, or they're two-sided so you can use them in molly webbing, but I prefer Dangler. So I ran into a guy, I can't think of his name, I'll put his site also in there, but he makes these that fit pretty much any kydex sheath. They're screwed on right here, and then it comes up, and then it has a paracord tied onto a leather loop. So it is a great, since it's paracord, it moves totally with you, and I really enjoy his dangler systems. Let me show you the other one. Here's the other one, and let me show them side by side so you can see a comparison. He made the handles a little bit longer. The blade is virtually identical. The handle scales are longer, and these are flatter, so there's not as much material. However, there's a nice palm swell, and it does have contouring swells out at the butt end, so it does have comfortable grip, but not as comfortable as this one. This one's, I think, much more improved. And once again, my hand is kind of strange. I've got a large, the palm of my hand would fit a large glove, but I've got really short fingers, so I can fit into a medium or a large. The large, sometimes I've got a little extra room at the end of my fingers, but so for probably gripping a knife, you'd say I have a large hand, and there's plenty of room on both of them. This one is the CPM 3V model. So I just thought I would show you that one. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to move the camera and just do a few common tasks you'd use with a survival knife. Once again, GSO 5.1. Everybody loves batoning. You might have to do this to make a bow drill set, or if it's so damp out you have to get into the heartwood or inside the way inside the wood to get some dry wood. This, by the way, has a Saber grind with a secondary bevel, which is a lot stronger. That's also why I would prefer this for my survival knife. Okay, I'll take this piece and break it down further. Try making a feather stick with this. Not close enough. Let me bring the camera a little closer. So far, I'm making fine shavings, but they're not staying on the stick. Let me flip it over and see if this direction of the grain might make it easier for them to stay.
To make a good feather stick, you got to make sure you can find the angle where the bevel is just barely cutting into the wood, which I find harder on a knife with a secondary bevel. It's almost intuitive when you've got a single bevel, and if you look at woodworking tools that are for cutting, almost all of them only have a single bevel, like a plane for instance. But you can make a feather stick. You just have to really focus hard on what you're doing. Is you're bringing the knife up at a more severe angle. When it's got a single bevel, you can lay it almost flat against the wood, and the thinner the blade, the easier that is. But you still might have to make a feather stick with a knife like this, so you want to be able to do it. That's why you need to practice with different knife grinds. And I would collect all these ones that fell off. I wouldn't just not use them. But as you can see, it is capable of making fine feathers. We'll make a pot hook. So you just make an X. Make sure you can still see me all right. And there you have a pot hook. Okay. Make a couple of 7 notches. Let's make one, but to make this adjustable, you have Need to have a way of adjusting it. So on the back side, stop notch was kind of deep. Okay, there's a 7-notch. So now we're going to make what looks pretty much like a screwdriver, flat bladed screwdriver end on this. Go. Engages in the 7-notch to suspend it. As you can see, it's up in the air. I'm suspending it. So the other end of this stick would be pointed and sticking in the ground, and then you just cut multiple notches in your pot holder stick. They're on the back side of that pot holder. We'll make a stake out of this one, tent stake. Alright, there's the pointed end of the tent stake. And I'll use this as my notch, so I don't have to go very deep, really. That just makes it stronger. And there's my notch. And I will crown the end so it doesn't mushroom over. There. As you can see, I took material away from here so that when you hammer on it, you're hammering down, the force is going down this straight side and not anywhere here where you could possibly chip this off. So I made it so that whatever you're pounding can't even hit over there, so it's just going to be pounding right there. Okay, that's a tent stake. So there you have it. The GSO 5.1, my all-time favorite survival knife. Designed and made by Guy Seiferd of Survive Knives. Made in America. This one is stainless CPM 20 CV. The other one is CPM 3V, which is my favorite. I like this so well, I've got a couple more coming in the distant future in 3V. Alright, I'm going to have a discussion of the things I like about this knife and the things I don't like about it. The things I like about it far outweigh the things I don't like about it, and that's one reason why it's my favorite one. I like the Kydex sheath. Virtually indestructible. It doesn't retain water, and so you don't have to worry about the sheath causing your knife to rust if it's in there for long-term periods. One of the things I didn't like is they don't come with the dangler option anymore. They used to, but I solved that by getting this dangler from another individual and putting them on the sheath.
The fit of the and finish of the sheath is fantastic. It's got a drain hole all the way down the center, and you can hear it just locks right in. Each one of these is made specifically for each model. The handle scales fit and finish is unbelievably good. It's extremely comfortable in your hand no matter what position you have the knife in. It actually locks right into like the web between your thumb and forefinger here, so that's comfortable. I like the length of this blade. It's about a 6-inch blade and about a 5-inch cutting surface. I'll put the specs in the description below. But you can choke up on it with a finger choil to do finer work. You've got the extra length if you do happen, heaven forbid, to use this knife to defend yourself. So you've got extra about an inch extra penetration with this. And the exposed pommel or tang, I like the exposed pommel. It's got jimping on it. You can use that to crack nuts and stuff. I'd probably just take this dangler loop off. It's kind of in the way right now. There's jimping on the top, which I'm not a huge fan of jimping, so that could go away and I would probably be glad. But that's not one of the options. It doesn't really bother me that much, but that's not a positive in my book. It's slight negative, but not that big a deal. I like the shape of the blade. I like the thickness of it, and the durability factor is unbelievably great. I just can't say enough about this one. The only negative really that I have is the length of time you have to wait to get one. It might take up to 2 years or 3 years before you get your knife. And if you don't mind waiting and you're patient, it's well worth the wait. But that is a negative. He puts the edges on, finishes, and does everything himself. So he doesn't have a crew of people to help him out. And so that's part of why it takes a while. But you can get these on eBay. I've seen brand new ones on eBay for exactly double the price, and they don't last. They disappear just as fast as they go up, and that is because people don't like to wait. But it's definitely worth it. It's got enough weight. The knife has enough weight. If you're somebody that likes to chop with a knife, I don't do that unless I'm just carefully just trying to knock knots off of a stick. I'm doing this up in the air so you can see it, like that. But to me, to try to chop something with a knife and banging away like that is, in my estimation, is abusive, because unless you're chopping exactly at a perfect angle, which a person can't do, you're putting undue lateral forces on that hair-thin edge, and it's likely to roll or chip, depending on how hard the knife is tempered. So as you saw, when I need to chop through something, I just lay it on there and I baton through it, or I do beaver chews around through it. That's the way I always chop, so I don't use knives like this to chop with. But this does have weight to it, so if you're somebody that likes to chop, this would work as a chopper too. It's kind of an all-round general purpose knife, and that's one reason why it's one of my favorite for like a survival situation. Well, I hope you liked this episode number 2 in the Knife Maker Monday series. Once again, Survive Knives GSO 5.1. This gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what your favorite survival knife is and why you like it. And just put that in the comments below, or even better yet, make a video response to this and show me your favorite knife for survival. So, until we meet again, God bless.